Welcome to our deep dive into the 2025 Alfa Romeo Stelvio. Alfa Romeo has always marched to the beat of its own drum, for better or worse. Sometimes that means building a car with a frustrating infotainment system, but also styling that makes you do a double take a decade later. And now they've completely redesigned their popular Stelvio SUV for the 2025 model year. So today, we're comparing expectations versus reality for this highly anticipated vehicle. Will it be a masterpiece of Italian engineering and design, or will it leave us wanting more? Let's find out. One of the biggest questions surrounding any new Alfa Romeo is always the performance. And in the case of the Stelvio, it's competing in a segment absolutely packed with performance SUVs. Before its release, there were rumors swirling about a fire-breathing quadrifoglio variant with over 500 horsepower. And you know what? They were right. Alfa really went all out on this one. But even the base model has a punchy four-cylinder turbocharged engine. And let me tell you, it moves. I took it out on some winding back roads, and this thing handles like it's on rails. The steering is precise, the suspension is firm but not too harsh, and the brakes are really, really good. Now, I know some people were hoping for a manual transmission option, and I've got to admit, I was too. But the 8-speed automatic is actually pretty darn good. It shifts quickly and smoothly, and it's always in the right gear. Overall, the Stelvio's performance definitely lives up to the hype, if not exceeding it in some areas. It's a blast to drive, and it's definitely one of the most engaging SUVs in its class. But how does it stack up in terms of practicality? Let's find out. Alright, so we've established that the Stelvio can handle itself when the road gets twisty, but what's it like to actually live with on a daily basis? Well, step inside, and you're greeted with a cabin that's a mixed bag, to be honest. The materials are high quality, with soft-touch surfaces and leather everywhere you look. And the design is definitely stylish, with those signature Alfa Romeo circular air vents and that sporty, driver-focused dashboard. But there are some ergonomic quirks that I just can't overlook. For example, the infotainment system, while it's been updated for 2025, is still a bit laggy and not as intuitive as some of its competitors. And the back seat space is a bit tight for a vehicle of this size. I mean, I wouldn't want to be stuck back here on a long road trip. But on the plus side, the front seats are incredibly comfortable and supportive, and there's actually a decent amount of cargo space in the back. So if you're looking for a practical family hauler, the Stelvio might not be the best choice. But if you prioritize style and driving enjoyment, and you don't often carry rear seat passengers, it's definitely worth a look. Now let's talk tech, because these days it's a major selling point for any new car, and the Stelvio is no exception. As I mentioned earlier, the infotainment system has been updated, and it now features a larger touchscreen display and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is great because those are features that were sorely lacking in the previous model. However, as I said, it's still not the most responsive system out there, and I found myself having to tap the screen multiple times occasionally to get it to do what I wanted. On the plus side, the Stelvio comes standard with a whole suite of advanced safety features, including automatic emergency braking, lane departure warning, and adaptive cruise control. And there's even an optional head-up display that projects vital information onto the windshield, which is a really nice touch. So while the tech in the Stelvio isn't perfect, it's definitely a step in the right direction, and the inclusion of all those safety features as standard is a big plus in my book. Speaking of safety, you know how sometimes a car just safe? Like if you got in an accident in it, you'd be fine because it's just so solidly built. That's not the vibe I get from the Stelvio. I mean, it's not that it feels necessarily, but it definitely doesn't have the same tank-like presence as some of its German rivals. But hey, I'm no crash test dummy, so let's look at the actual safety ratings. The Stelvio earned top marks from both the IUHS and the NHTSA, which is reassuring to see. And as I mentioned earlier, it comes standard with a comprehensive suite of advanced safety features. So even though it might not look like the safest car on the road, the Stelvio has the credentials to back it up. And that's what really matters, right? All right, let's talk about the price, because that's always a major consideration. The 2025 Alfa Romeo Stelvio starts at price, which puts it right in line with its competitors. However, once you start adding on options, the price can climb pretty quickly. For example, if you want that powerful quadrifoglio engine, you're looking at a significant jump in price. And those fancy Italian leather seats, yeah, those will cost you extra too. So is the Stelvio worth the premium? That's a tough one. It's not the most practical SUV out there, and the infotainment system could still use some work, but it's an absolute blast to drive. It looks fantastic, and it comes with a lot of standard features. Ultimately, it comes down to your priorities. If you're looking for a stylish and engaging SUV that puts a smile on your face every time you get behind the wheel, then the Stelvio is definitely worth considering. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the 2025 Alfa Romeo Stelvio. It's a car that's sure to turn heads, and it definitely delivers on the driving experience. Whether it's the right choice for you ultimately depends on your individual needs and priorities. But one thing's for sure, Alfa Romeo has created a unique and compelling contender in the luxury SUV segment. Don't forget to like, subscribe,